my concoction here. Otherwise, I don't know if my voice will make it the entire time, so it's time to get into the... So apparently Ken gave us this Elijah Craig. He's got that spreadsheet of all the bourbon, right?
Yes.
So apparently, according to Ken, who I owed Ken a text back.
This is your verbal text.
Yes. Hi, Ken. Thank you for the bourbon, as always. Apparently, he had given this to us back in like 24. Maybe it was ahead of the birthday bash. I don't know. Maybe it was ahead of a golf tournament or something like that when we do the thing.
All sounds plausible.
All sounds very, very plausible. But anyway, yes, I appreciate the listeners yesterday. Like, yeah, man, you sounded like you were on death's door. Now you just sound like a little bit like Quiet Storm, you know? Ooh. Also, who turned on Spring already?
I don't know.
I'm not ready for this, man. I am not ready for this. Just like I'm not ready for the show, apparently. So, anyway. You ready to get this thing going?
I'm ready.
All right, let's get this thing going.
So much homework.
I did give you a homework assignment today, didn't I?
You did.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
It's all right.
I didn't know there'd be I didn't know there'd be a test. My bad. All right, let's do this, shall we? Let's podcast alongside Joe Giglio. I'm Joe Ovies, inside Eford Studios in downtown Raleigh. Thanks to Empire Properties once again, because I need the Earl Grey with the honey, with a splash of the Elijah Craig barrel proof to make sure the moneymaker is properly. The moneymaker can't even speak, apparently.
No.
Anyway, the moneymaker needs to work, right? The moneymaker needs to work. We're live, so I can't just start over. So here we are. Big thanks to Empire Properties. Big thanks to Copiers Plus for being our presenting sponsor. But it is just past 2:00. We got Winter Olympics hockey going on right now between USA and Canada on the women's side, which means it's time for another Butcher's Market OG Live. I did the jalapeno steak tips last night to make tacos.
I have not had those yet.
Dude, fantastic. There's
just jalapeno chicken.
What I love about
lime jalapeno?
Yes.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, the cilantro. Yeah, that one. The ancient Ovies family fajita recipe.
Yes.
What I love about Butcher's Market and the jalapeno, it's not hitting you with the heat. They're hitting you with the flavor of the jalapeno, which I think is really, really good. There's a subtle difference there. And the steak tips were fantastic last night. So head on over to the Butcher's Market. They bring you OG Live. At the bottom of the hour, man, I haven't done that in a long time. At the bottom of the hour, we're going to talk to Andrew Jones from Tar Heel 24/7. It's been an interesting couple days, 10 days, really, almost 2 weeks over in Chapel Hill, from the elation of the Duke win to the Caleb Wilson injury, then Henry Vasar, and then the trap game with Miami, and then getting your ass handed to you by NC State at home. And you also got the Smith Center drama, and Mac Brown's coming back, apparently.
I saw that.
Right? There's all sorts of stuff going on right now.
Forever a Tar Heel. I have questions about the definition of forever.
I do too. Just like Elliot Cadeau might have an opportunity to be Tar Heel for life on Saturday when Michigan takes on Duke. So that's coming up at the bottom of the hour. I did mention some Olympic stuff. We'll get to that in a little bit as well, because I think it's interesting that there's some Canes through lines. Shout out to the Canes, who immediately, once we saw the Finland-Canada draw for the semifinals tomorrow, they took the screen grab of Seth Jarvis going, "I want to fight Fishy." I don't think we're going to get a fight in this game. Hopefully we'll get better officiating that does not have you having 6 guys on the ice and it not producing a penalty. I think the kicker to that was the fact that there were 7 dudes on the ice celebrating. That made it even better. But, hey, Canada pulled it out. Just like, heck, you tell me Canes fans aren't all about that life, right? You tell me they're about that life. Let's go straight to the sports phone.
919-444-2211. Call the OG Sports Phone and curse or don't.
So this is from a 919.
How do you have the best defender on planet Earth on your roster, and you have him riding pine and send out Hughes and McAvoy? Both good, but Hughes more of an offensive defender, and you got you're playing 6-on-5 with a 1-goal lead. How do you not put out Earth's greatest defender, Earth's mightiest defender, the Avenger himself, Jacob Slavin? We were the better team, or USA was the better team, and USA deserved to win, but we deserved to allow that goal. And I hope Mike Sullivan learns his lesson for the rest of the tournament. I don't know if that was that New York Rangers bias against our boy Slavin. Shout out to Seth Jarvis too for finding himself a puck bunny.
Yeah.
What have I been missing,
dude? You are missing out with the Olympics, man. Did you read where this is like
I did see the condom,
my
the great
favorite
condom shortage of 2026.
My favorite Olympic story is the amount of time it takes for the condoms to run out in the Olympic Village. That is always a favorite story of mine. Record time apparently in this trip. It's Italy, man. Something's in the air, right? But no, what I love about the Olympic hockey is the conundrum that the NHL faces, right? In that they don't want this. And they really get nothing out of it. Remember, the players had to
the
do
NHL or the Olympics?
The NHL.
Okay.
The NHL gets nothing out of this.
Sure.
You know, the players want to do it. They collectively bargained it. They want to represent their countries, and it's best on best. I think it's great. But the NHL is only looking at it from a money-making perspective, and they're also trying to protect their assets. Like, with Sidney Crosby getting hurt, they're like, I'm guessing that caller about Slavin would view it differently if Slavin got hurt yesterday. And then he wouldn't be available for the final push and obviously the postseason. We might have a different take on this. But this does get to something that I'm trying to really reconcile in 2026 when it comes to sports and everything coming back down to line go up. Sometimes if you want to make fans, you need to give them the show. And the thing about the Olympics, it's not about a bump for the NHL. It's just about giving people the show. And yesterday was a freaking show, with 3 of the games going into overtime. Shout out to Slovakia, by the way. They're in this thing.
Okay.
Also, speaking of Canes fans, I'm waiting for the Canes fans to chime in with, where's this Marty Natchez been?
Well, I actually, when I was seeing the highlights yesterday, because I know Trocheck is also on Team USA.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know if the person who drafted all of these players was one GM or one assistant or one scout. Somebody at the Hurricanes did a hell of a job to find all these players.
Right?
Somebody's
doing it.
I mean, I don't know if it's multiple somebodies, but
maybe they know what they're doing. But yeah, it'll be a really good day of hockey tomorrow. Obviously, we got the USA and Canada going on right now in the women's final, but tomorrow's going to be a lot of fun too. And I'm looking forward to it. And I enjoy the spectacle. Just like I enjoyed the spectacle of the 4 Nations tournament, which is a completely different type of thing.
Yeah.
But again, it's the spectacle. It's the show. That's why we watch. That's why we get hooked. And if some players get hurt, I mean, hey, man. Also, the other Canes fans are also zoning in on the fact that Mikko Rantanen's coming up short in crunch time. Like, aha! But our guy Fishy, he scored a crucial goal. So I love how the fandom is bleeding into some of how we talk about these things. Anyway, so let's get to like the headline of today's show. Will Wade back to LSU? What's really behind the rumors? A couple of you have sent us some messages, whether it's through social media, comments on YouTube, email, conversations that you just have with people in real life. And they're like, hey, man, have you heard this stuff about Will Wade and LSU? And it's like, yeah, but we just don't have time to talk about it right now. We got other things to talk about, like actual games to talk about. That rumor about Will Wade and LSU isn't going to go away anytime soon. So that we can table it. And we tabled it a couple weeks ago, and I tabled it earlier in the week too, because we got stuff to talk about. But last Friday, a radio host out in Baton Rouge, the guy's name is Matt Mascana. He does a radio show out of Baton Rouge. He also does the Locked On LSU podcast.
Yes, that's what I listened to today.
So in order to get into this topic, it requires a lot of table setting. So bear with me as we set the table for how we got here to the point where a radio host in Baton Rouge is talking about the possibility of Will Wade, NC State's head coach, going back to LSU. And I think it really broke contain last week. And I asked around, I'm like, I don't know, Matt, but I asked people in the industry that I do know, hey, is this guy legit? And the response I got from multiple people was, yeah, he's a legit dude. A little bit of a hot take artist, which I laughed on to one person. I said, aren't we all hot take artists?
Yeah.
I'm not going to hold it against him. So here's how these things all kind of play out. Matt McMahon is the current head coach at LSU. He replaced Will Wade after the famous strong-ass offer NCAA FBI business in 22-23. He hasn't made the tournament since he took over as the coach. He's currently on a 4-game losing streak with LSU. They've only won 2 games in their last 13. They're 2-11 in SEC play. So they're ready to move on. When NC State was courting Will Wade last March to replace Kevin Keats, there was a push, according to Matt, to run it back with Will Wade. He went into more detail on his podcast. You and I both remember in that whole hiring cycle, there was the LSU specter hovering over all the NC State Will Wade discussions. So that's not a new phenomenon. Matt just adds some more context as to what exactly was going on behind the scenes, okay? And, to be real, the reason why LSU didn't stick it out with Will Wade through the NCAA tournament stuff was because LSU did the inverse UNC scandal. They're like, whoa, we're not going to let this touch football. And if we got to fire this guy to make sure it doesn't touch football, then we're going to do it, okay? Because LSU is a football school. It's not too dissimilar to when, remember, Zion had some stuff about recruitment, and we got that story about Clemson, and that staffer on Clemson, on Brad Brownell's staff, got disappeared because he talked a little too loosely when he said, well, football could do this. Why can't we? To get Zion, right? Buddy, we can't say those things out loud. Who's the moneymaker here? Speaking of moneymakers. So that guy got disappeared. So you see what I'm getting at. There are decisions that are made.
Might be on Will's staff.
He might be on Will's staff for all I know. Might be. I have no idea. Anyway, so they didn't stick it out with Will Wade, and here we are. Now, some more context. Scott Woodward was still the athletics director, and depending on who you ask, Woodward wasn't interested or just didn't have the appetite to bring Will Wade back after they had just fired him. Woodward, for most people who might know that name, is more famous because he got canned by the governor of Louisiana, Jeff Landry, which then gave us one of the more unhinged press conferences we have seen in college football in the whole Lane Kiffin saga, right? Well, I'm not going to do these buyouts are ridiculous. How could you give this guy, how could you give Brian Kelly this buyout? And then you go and give Lane Kiffin a very similar buyout. And the main reason why this is now a thing is because of the guy Landry appointed to the LSU Board of Supervisors, or whatever they call it, back on February 12th. The guy they appointed, his name is Lee Mallett. The most important thing you need to know about Mallett is that he has money. And with that money, he has supported Republican politicians, including Jeff Landry's gubernatorial run, and now he's obviously the governor. The other thing you got to know about Mallett, according to Matt Moscana of Baton Rouge, is that he really wanted Wade back this last hiring cycle.
Yes.
Okay. Mallett was ready to pony up the cash, but Woodward wasn't interested. Depending on who you ask, there might be some conflict between Woodward and Will Wade, which we'll get to a little bit later on. And according to Moscana, Mallett went so far as to ask Landry, the governor, to step in. And so you can add that to the dynamic that eventually got Woodward fired as the AD. Throw the Brian Kelly thing into the mix, and here we are. Now, with Woodward gone and Mallett leading the board, this is how we end up with Will Wade LSU rumors.
And Wade Roos, who was the president at McNeese while Will was there, in the interim since then has been named the president of like the LSU system.
Yeah.
So now there are two people who would be in the rabbi category for Will Wade being back to LSU. So you have these two people who he's familiar with. Bruce, obviously, he worked for at McNeese, and then Mallett. My understanding of Mallett, because I have two people with LSU connections, and I said, well, is he their Wendell Murphy?
Yeah.
Is Lee Mallett their Wendell Murphy?
Well,
and the person told me, LSU's got about 50 Wendell Murphys. He's just one of them and is now in a position of power.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up because, how does Matt, because I listened to Matt's podcast. I listened to the Locked On podcast. I also listened to his radio segment, which they archive on the shows. It's called like After Further Review, I think is the name of the show. So I listened to that segment as well. And I found it interesting on a lot of different levels. Because in a sense, you find out that all sports politics is local, right? So like you think John Pryor, there's 50 of these guys. Well, there's 50 of these Lee Malletts all over the place, right? It's like John Pryor at UNC taking over in the Bill Belichick hiring when they were trying to do a proper search. And here comes John Pryor to fuck it all up. And we end up with Bill Belichick at UNC. it's not too dissimilar to Boo Corrigan, AD at NC State, and how we ended up with Will Wade. Because remember, Boo Corrigan had a different list than what the money people wanted. And then the money people ended up getting their way. And that's how Will Wade ends up here at NC State. And Moscana insists that the possibility of this happening is slim. I don't agree with all of them, though. So let me go through the things that he brings up before we kind of further get into the dynamics that are at play at LSU, which might add to why this might not be the case. And I think you and I are probably both going to be on the same page on how this all plays out the rest of the season. Okay. So the first thing he brings up is donor fatigue. Where have we heard that before?
Yes.
But to your point, at NC State,
It's one thing.
donor fatigue is how many times can we go back to Wendell Murphy?
Right. And now McMurray.
And yeah, right.
Yeah.
But at LSU, it's like, well, let's shake down any number of guys. It's important to note that the radio station that Moscana works for is owned by one of those money people at LSU. So it doesn't really take a lot of brain work here to figure out that Matt's probably getting some of this information because the rich guy who owns the radio station is talking to the other rich guys around LSU and talking about fantasy bookings and how these things would play out and yada, yada, yada. So he brings up this donor fatigue, but he does admit that if Will Wade was the guy, then they would look past his $5 million buyout before April 1st. I think it drops $3 million after April 1st.
I don't think Will's buyout is a factor.
Thank you.
At all.
That was the other thing, too. He's like, well, there's just $5 million buyout. I'm like, what's $5 million to these LSU people?
No. Brian Kelly's buyout is the factor.
That's the factor. That's where you get into the donor fatigue.
And then you're spending all the my Lane and Lane Kiffin and his staff on the football side.
Yes.
So, yeah, that's like where you're fly on the windshield there.
And then he kept bringing up that NC State is a, quote, basketball school. And I'm just shaking my head as I was driving around yesterday listening to this segment because the SEC has heavily invested in basketball in the last decade. But the greatest feature that SEC basketball has over any other conference is actually not caring about basketball, not being a basketball school. That is a feature, not a bug, where you can not make it out of the Sweet 16 and be okay. Because we've moved on in LSU's case, talking about baseball around Baton Rouge.
Sure.
At Florida, oh man, let's say they didn't win a national championship. No big deal. We're now focused on recruiting, the offseason, yada, yada, yada. So this idea that, well, at NC State, they care about basketball, that can be a plus and a minus. And also, not all basketball schools are created equally. I think we would all recognize, like we like to say, and that's in no way, shape, or form can know this. What do we like to say on this podcast, Joe? Nothing in the triangle happens in a vacuum. People keep receipts here. Mm-hmm. They don't do that sort of thing at LSU. And they don't do that sort of thing at, say, a Kentucky where you're the only game in town sort of a thing, right? Or Kansas where you're the only game in town. You're not the only game in town here. You got to contend with Mark Gottfried's favorite phrase, the tough neighborhood. And some people are just not built for that. Some people are just not built for the tough neighborhood. Hard stop. I think Will Wade is. I don't think he cares. He's a rabble rouser. He's that guy. He likes this stuff. So I do think he's built for the tough neighborhood. But I just wanted to clarify to anybody who's like, oh, NC State's basketball school. I'm like, it is, but ... There's some context there. And he also brings up the new AD, which I think gets into some other things that is not being discussed with these LSU Will Wade rumors. And that's the new athletics director. If Scott Woodward didn't exactly get along with Will Wade, the new guy didn't either. Guy's name is Verge Osby, who apparently did not have the best relationship with Will Wade, who has been open about the fact that he loved it there in Baton Rouge. His family loved it there. They thought he could win there, all that kind of stuff. But it doesn't really sound to me like while the money people and certain money people would like Will Wade back, there are people in charge that might not.
Yeah, starting with what I interpreted on the podcast, and the person with the information was very clear. Like, hey, I don't think necessarily that this is going to happen.
Yeah.
But it is now more likely to happen because of Lee Mallett and because of Wade Roos. Like, those are the two players involved here that have the connection to Will. From my understanding, and we can take these all in segmented parts if you'd like. Let's focus on the LSU part.
Let's do it
right now. From my understanding, the Mallett and Roos and the donor types, they are enamored of Will and remember him fondly. Mm-hmm. But on the admin side, Woodward was pretty clear about this. I think Osbury would be in the same camp. And it's not just the AD, it's the people in compliance. It's the people who work at the school.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people still at LSU who are like, we don't want Will Wade back. And you have to remember why those on that side would say that. Mm-hmm. Because I know you could be screaming right now. But Joe, the strong ass offer It's all legal now.
Yeah.
And
that's how the money people think.
Right. But it was more complicated than that at the time. Because remember, Will's there for 5 years. His first year is your feel-good rebuild year.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. The second year is when the FBI stuff comes out and we get the strong-ass offer on the wiretap, and now this information is public, and they're kind of going through it. And remember, everybody but Bill Self is fired, including Rick Pitino at Louisville.
Yeah.
Everyone who kind of got implicated in this has all been fired.
Yeah.
Mark Gottfried, Rick Pitino, name your assistant coach, right? Eventually, Sean Miller's gone at Arizona. And it's like, wait, why is Will Wade the last one standing? Well, in 2019, LSU was trying to get information out of Will Wade, not the NCAA, the school. And he really wasn't cooperating with the school. So LSU is the ones who suspended him for the 2019 NCAA tournament. So they reached the Sweet 16 in 2019. They win their first 2 games. They go to the Sweet 16. He didn't coach in any of them. And that wasn't an NCAA punishment. That was the school.
The school.
Okay. 2020 is your pandemic. 21, they make the tournament. He goes 1-1. And I believe, without looking it up, now you're getting into like, wait a second. Sean Miller's gone. Patino's gone. We get why Bill Self's still there. He's won a national championship. But why is Will Wade still there?
Yeah.
We get to 22. They make the tournament again. He got fired when the notice of allegations came out. He got fired before the NCAA tournament in 2022. So the picture I'm painting for you here is he was not someone who was cooperative with his own school. This isn't about the NCAA. There were also issues in part of the NCAA investigation, and this goes back to Pat Forty's reporting, that there was essentially bribery payments or an attempt to bribe one of the former player's fiancés.
Yeah.
And that is not strong ass offer stuff. That's not hand wave. It's legal now. You're getting into like the moral compass problem territory there when you talk about, hey, can you talk player X into not saying this because it will affect me? Like, that's not I think that's where the LSU admin types are looking at it going, we don't need that type of headache.
Right.
Whereas the booster types and this Lee Mallett and Wade Roos potentially are looking at it going, well, wait a second. He was here for 5 years. 1 year was a rebuild. The other year was a pandemic. No tournament. He made the other 3. The team was so good that he built in 19 that they didn't even need him to coach them we made it to the Sweet 16.
Right.
So it's like
they went full Jim Harbaugh. You don't need me. This team's so freaking good. We're good.
So okay, to me that's the LSU part of it. Just as we saw at Carolina with John Pryor and Lee Roberts, can a president / chancellor and one big heel, pardon the pun, get a guy and grease the wheels and get a guy through at the protest of the people in the athletic administration?
Joe,
absolutely that can happen.
We just talked to Josh Stein like 2 weeks ago, and he's dropping jokes about, well, I don't want to get into the hiring and firing of coaches. Like,
so absolutely that could happen.
They're like that at LSU.
So I'm taking their word for it on that side.
Sure.
Now on the Will side, he got here. I think he was pretty clear at the end with McNeese. When I broke the story about him leaving, like he told his players, he was pretty clear with McNeese. I gave you, the AD, my guy Heath Stroyer. I'm giving you 2 years. I one thing that shouldn't be dismissed as I sit here and tell you about the admins at LSU, Will Wade didn't just go through an NCAA investigation. He went through an FBI investigation. And those are 2 different things.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm giving Will the person credit for being through a tumultuous affair in his life and learning from it and trying to be better from it. I think that's what the 2 years at McNeese helped him do. I think that's what this year at NC State is helping him do as well. So I want to be clear on that front. Do I think, like, I have no inclination, source, whispers, anything from the NC State side that says, as multiple, I was on with a couple of Dimitri's people. They were like, is it true that Will's not happy with his financing at NC State? Is it true that he's ready to leave? And I'm like, yeah, guys, he got here. He got an open checkbook. He picked the roster that he wanted. He has hired all of the people that he wants. Like, there's nothing impeding what he wants to do at NC State. Like, there's nothing.
Yeah.
So I don't I've not heard of anything of any disgruntlement of any sort. Okay. So here's one thing I want to say about the ACC and this job in the tough neighborhood that I will say. In 2017, when Debbie fired Mark Gottfried, Will Wade at the time, his agent was Jordan Bazant. Okay. Mark, Dave Doran, and Will Wade all had the same agent, Jordan Bazant. So I call Jordan and we talk about Will as a potential for somebody at NC State. And he flat out tells me, and this is 2017, he flat out tells me, why would he take that job? You've got Roy, you've got Kay, and you have a fan base that doesn't necessarily understand the reality of competing with Roy and Kay. He said, and he also had Mark Fox at the time who was at Georgia.
Oh, yeah.
And he says to me, he goes, Mark's at Georgia. Do you think anyone care what he does? No. He goes, all of my guys come to me and I all tell them the same thing. Take a job in the SEC. Take a job in the SEC where football is king and they will leave you alone.
Look at NATO. It's at Alabama.
And they will leave you alone and you'll make a bunch of money and you'll get to your second contract. That was 2017. Interestingly enough, Kay retires. Roy retires. Duke is still very good. No doubt. Carolina's in flux.
They are.
Okay?
They are.
I could make the argument right now in 2026 and 2025 when Will took the job, the ACC is actually an easier conference now than the SEC.
Yes.
So that part of the paradigm has shifted. And the money is certainly competitive that NC State came up with. So this wasn't, Debbie having to use a shoestring budget to hire Mark Gottfried, right? Like remember that search, the great search of 2011, 2012, when everyone was like, NC State's got all this money. They're gonna go get Shaka Smart and they're gonna do it. And it's like, no, dude, it was never that way.
No.
Why do you think Debbie put so many incentives in these coaches' contracts? Because she knew that was the only way she could get them rewarded. And she took out insurance against those bonuses.
Right.
So when they did come home, they weren't coming from her pocket.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Very smart. Debbie was very smart. So it's a different time in that environment. So from the Will side of it, I could see him saying, I'm actually in a better spot to achieve what I want, which I'm going to assume is to win the national championship.
Yes.
That's my assumption. Okay. So I think that's the current environment. I think that's the Will side. I understand the LSU side. How the whole thing shakes out, though, I think you and I...
We know how this shakes out.
I think this could potentially shake out like this.
Yeah.
Let me advance a scenario for you.
Yes. I know where you're going.
Will, who's a pretty skilled politician in all of this, okay, probably communicates with some of his people at LSU and gets them...
Well, you don't think he texts with Lee Mallett? I mean, come on.
And gets them thinking, hey, for the right price, hey, my wife loved it there.
Hey, make me a strong ass offer.
My family loved it there. Hey, and I'm not accusing Will of being the first coach to ever do this, by the way, but you could leverage the situation, get LSU hot and heavy after you.
Yeah.
And then, let's think about this. Mike Krzyzewski had the president of Duke at a rally with a bullhorn saying, stay Coach K. Roy Williams got the entire town of Lawrence, Kansas to show up at a football stadium when he was being courted the first time at Carolina. So again, I am not accusing Will Wade of inventing using a leverage situation, but I think you and I could see scenario.
You're referencing Richard Broadhead.
Dick Broadhead.
Dick Broadhead from Duke, the president at the time. You know what magically appeared? you're focusing on the bullhorn.
Oh, the practice facility.
This
is when the Lakers
the Emily Krzyzewski Center opens
also.
up to. Oh, okay. We see what's going on here.
Leverage.
Which leverage it? That's the leverage. I am not knocking it.
Yeah.
If you have leverage, use your damn leverage. It's not that complicated. So anyway.
So I'm not accusing him of inventing the nefarious.
He's doing what any coach in that position would do.
But I could see him using this as a leverage situation, and I could see them having some sort of rally at the Brickyard. So whatever I name right now, they won't do. So I'll just name them all.
Yeah.
There could be a Brickyard rally. There could be a Bell Tower rally.
Yeah.
There could be one at the arena. There could be one at the football stadium.
It's at Steve's RV. That's
it could be in the RV lot where He could be at one of the Empire properties.
Could be. Greg will host
hate
them.
him.
We're all at Raleigh Times making sure that Will Wade wants to stay.
Where he comes out with Matt Chazano, who he loves to run his mouth to.
Oh, yeah, he does. Over at the pit.
And say, LSU wanted me, but you know what? I came here to win. I came here for a reason, and my work's not done yet.
Oh,
and
that sounds good.
You start raising that NIL money, all of a sudden your $12 million budget this year bounces to 20 next year.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think we could see this playing out like this. I think we could see a scenario just like the LSU guy is using his information to give you a scenario. That's the scenario that I would see that if you were to ask me to bet on right now would be the most likely.
I see the vision. I agree with the vision. That's probably. Do you want to go to the pit that day?
Well, again, I just named. So NC State will never do what I say. So
it would totally happen at the pit. Anyway, go to the pit. Good food.
Housekeeping.
Big thanks to Enovana. Check them out online at enovana.com.
If you have mess inside your mansion or trash in your cabana, get it clean with Enovana.
Hey, head on over to oviesgiglio.com. We got a couple things for you to check out, including OG Light Pint Night at Longleaf Swine. That's going to be March 16th. So join us, Mia O'Brien and Mitch Northrum from the Women's Basketball Podcast, which you can watch right here on this YouTube channel for dinner, beer, and tournament fun. $52. That is the price of the ticket. $49 was a $2 handling fee. That gets you a pint of OG Light, barbecue, dessert, and an opportunity to hang out with us, fill out some brackets while we do a live show. Go to oviesgiglio.com, hit that little button there that says get tickets here, and we'll see you on March 16th. Also, if you go up to the menu items, you'll see bracket projections. That'll take you to Patrick Stevens's. Are we daily now? Every other day?
You can't put a
stop Patrick.
On Patrick.
You can't stop Patrick. Well, he's got his latest field notes for the NCAA bracket.
Seeded territory.
Seeded territory is what we're calling it.
Working on our graphic as we speak.
Color graphic. We'll work on that graphic. It's good stuff. Again, it's all at oviesandgiglio.com. Big thanks to Mosquito Authority and Pest Authority. I'm sure Hayes might, I don't know. Think Hayes shows up in the RV a lot for that rally too?
Our guy?
Yeah.
Of course.
Of course he does. Bugsbite.com.
Lancaster, yeah.
Yes. No, not Hayes Perm.
I had Perm on the brain.
No, not Perm. Bugsbite.com. You can bundle and save, pay as you go. There's no contracts with our friends at Mosquito Authority and Pest Authority. Big thanks to Bloomin' Blinds. Big after dark earlier this week with the NC State UNC game.
Hopefully you guys gave Bloomin' Blinds a call.
Please call them, 919-980-9815.
Hopefully your response was like, man, Ovies, you were really going hard in the paint. You got to take more naps. You need some blinds at your house, right? I know exactly who could help you put some blinds in that family room / back sun room so that you can get some sleeps.
It's all that Buffalo snow and the sun reflecting off it. You just couldn't sleep. You need blinds, Joe. That's what you need. So call them directly, 919-980-9815. I see you rocking that new Two Roosters merch.
I do. Yes.
Did you drop by today? What'd you get up?
Yesterday.
What'd you get?
The peanut butter.
Nice. I have to drop by and re-up on that. Head on over to tworoosters.com. Some of you, I would recommend having the Slave and Sunday on the Will Wade bed if we get a rally at the end of the season.
Okay.
Maybe they do it at Two Roosters. I don't know. Yeah. Go to tworoosters.com.
It's almost like all the people who give us money give money to NC State. That's
weird. Whatever happens, just make sure that money doesn't go away from us.
Yes.
Okay. A big thanks to Hometown Realty. Like
their NIL budget can't grow at our expense.
Yeah, like we need our own NIL budget. Anyway, My Hometown Realty. Check them out online, myhtr.com. You can buy and sell with confidence. There's a lot of questions about the housing market right now. You might see a house that's new construction that's been sitting there for 6 months to a year. What's the deal with that? Are they like knocking down the price? Are there builder incentives? Only one way to find out with our friends at Hometown Realty. So check them out, myhtr.com. Again, that's myhtr.com. Joining us on the Heister Automotive Group hotline from Tar Heel 24/7, Andrew Jones. There's never a dull moment in the triangle, Andrew. We got Will Wade LSU rumors. We got stuff on Tar Heel 24/7 talking about pressure on Hubert Davis and how things have turned around in the last 10 days. I love it here, Andrew. I love it here.
By the way, I just want to say I'm here for all things Patrick Stevens.
Oh, yes. He's the best. He's the best.
He's the biggest, the biggest, the, the biggest loss not having Maryland in the ACC is not seeing Patrick more often.
100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. Agree.
Yes.
Agree. We're hoping to get him in Charlotte for the ACC tournament. We got to get like live
That would be fantastic.
bracket updates and everything
That would
else.
be fantastic.
Let's just get the newsy stuff out of the way first. What is the latest on Henry Baystar? That seems like it's closer to return before we get to Caleb Wilson. What's the latest on that?
I'm going to try to get some information later today. I haven't gotten anything since I was in Lenova Center the other night. He didn't practice yesterday. I know that report was out there, and I guess I got something yesterday that was confirmed as well from somebody, but I don't know. They're not saying a whole lot. I do know that the Achilles has been wrapped, and it's kind of a strange timeline. You and I talked about it a little bit the other night, Joe.
Yep.
Joe with the bigger beard than the other Joe. And basically, it's a little confusing for people, and I've tried my best to get rid of the flu talk, because I was told the flu was why he didn't play Saturday, and if he felt better, he would have given it a go. But then, somehow the Achilles got worse or became more of an issue. Hubert tells us Monday morning, and this is a messaging thing I'm sure you guys have talked about. Hubert tells us Monday morning, hey, Henry's had a great day Sunday. And then Monday, but he hadn't seen him yet Monday. Monday night, he does his radio show, and he says, quote, big jump by Henry in both the flu and the lower extremity. And then there is no game time decision Tuesday, which really just kind of threw everybody off. And the messaging became an issue and a storyline unto itself. And then after the game, Hubert kind of called him day to day. If it is the most minor of Achilles, it's hard to say that's day to day right now. That might be day to day in 10 days from now. But it's hard to kind of see it that way. But they're not providing a whole lot of information. I'm operating and told Carolina fans probably to operate as if neither one of those guys are going to play this weekend. Okay. And the team would probably be wise to prepare as if they're not going to have them. So until we learn more, and hopefully later today I'll have something. And if I have something more concrete, I'll get it out there. But I have a weird feeling, guys, that it may be a little while before we see either one of them.
Okay. Which I highly recommend. You go to Tar Heel 24/7, sign up, because Andrew's dropping stuff all the time. Podcast is very good on YouTube, so go check that out. All sorts of good stuff over at Tar Heel 24/7. All right. You brought up the messaging. I had jotted that down, but since you brought it up, we can go ahead and get to this now. I thought it was interesting. I think you opened up the questions to Hubert Davis on Tuesday night, trying to kind of get an assessment of the last 8 days. You go from the high of beating Duke, you get a trap game against Miami, you get the injury with Caleb Wilson, you get the Henry Vassar stuff, and then you get your ass handed to you by NC State there at home. And I thought his response was interesting. It was like, yeah, man, I mean, you don't get a sunny day every day. You don't get consecutive sunny days. You get all that kind of stuff, right? And then you get Shelby Swanson from the News and Observer. I thought, looking like it was an interesting story. Here's Caleb Wilson, a guy who has no real skin in the game, but he's clearly, like, in terms of the triangle, but he clearly wants to be noted as like a great Tar Heel in his one season here. And there's this story about these players, his teammates are talking about how he was fired up, he was challenging them and everything else. And Hubert Davis is like, nah, I don't want to talk about that. And I'm like, okay, that's interesting. And then Shelby, because she's doing good at her job, it's like, no, I'm going to follow up. Like, what are we doing here? He's like, no, I don't want to talk about that kind of stuff. And I find like most of the issues around Hubert Davis right now at North Carolina, and how you can go from the high of beating Duke to we're right back to talking about pressure on Hubert Davis, even though he's had a good season, all things considered, has everything to do with the messaging right now. Am I off base on that?
No, you're not. And the messaging reminds me a little bit, and I'm going way back, and you guys will laugh here, Chuck Amato's last year. Ooh. When he said, because he kind of put foot in mouth enough that they just needed an opportunity. It was the Akron stuff, or Toledo with the
it was Akron. It was Akron.
Akron. Yeah, it was Akron with the partial qualifiers.
Trying to save my voice. Partial qualifiers. That whole thing.
God, I was in that press conference. I know. And I remember the back and forth he had with Neil
Amato.
No. Amato was Durham. Ned Barnett. Yeah,
there we go.
Yeah, Ned Barnett.
Those
were the blog days. Those were the blog days. I did an entire transcript of their back and forth as a blog that day. Nice. It was gold. Anyway, I think that the messaging has been an issue the last 2 weeks. There is no situation with Caleb, and now kind of the stuff with Henry. Yeah. And in the end, people may not care because they may forget a lot of this stuff. But right now, it's a cause for a lot of stress and panic and negativity thrown back at Hubert. Everything that was gained from the Duke win seems to have gone away now, and people are reminded, the ones that kind of want Hubert out are reminded why they want Hubert out in a lot of ways, or at least they're pushing that narrative. I think Hubert has shown a lot of signs of improvement as a coach this year.
Yeah.
One of the things I was told before the year by a couple people very close to him in the program is that one giant hurdle he needs to make is learning how to trust his players more. And we've seen him do that. We've seen him roll with guys from the bench for long periods in games when he used to say, well, 5 minutes, you're in and you're out, no matter how you're playing. The last 7 minutes or last 6 minutes at Virginia, Henry Vessar was on the bench. And he had Jaron Stevenson in there because that was working better. So he's shown signs of improvement as a coach, but the messaging has never been good. And 5 years in, 7 years on ESPN, watching Roy do his thing for 9 years, you would think the messaging at this point would be better. But it appears that the last couple of weeks it has been about as off as it has during his entire tenure. And this is not a good time for that. But it seems like coaches all over the country are a little bit off right now. So maybe he's just joining the parade.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up because there's context here, right? There's us locally and wondering, hey man, you're actually having a good season, and there's context as to why Tuesday went the way that it did. Could Carolina have shown a little bit more fight? Yes, obviously, but there's context as to why we are here. But he's not Mick Cronin. There's no Darren Peterson drama where Bill Self is finally getting to the point where he's trying. Like Bill Self has shown a lot of restraint this year at Kansas with the Peterson stuff, right? So to your point, I agree with you. Coaches are unhinged right now in college basketball, and Hubert is Hubert. And I think that's okay. You could ask a little bit more about him, but I totally understand where he's coming from on some of these things.
Yeah. And look, imagine being in his shoes.
Yeah.
They were having a good year. I thought the fact that they led for 0.4 of a second and still beat Duke, it's pretty damn impressive. And at that point, you say, wow, this roster has won at Kentucky, beaten Kansas with Peterson. He was healthy that night, and beat Duke. And so you recognize this. There's a pretty impressive upside to this team. Now, their lows were pretty bad at times, but their highs were getting higher, and they were learning to play in stretches when Caleb Wilson, for example, would go through his droughts, which are pretty common. They were getting better. They had a 40-19 run at Virginia. Henry and Caleb combined for 8 points of that 40. That's a sign of growth. They were morphing into something that could have made a run in the NCAA tournament. And then in a span of maybe 10 game minutes in Miami, injuries occur to their two best players, and the entire season is flipped on its head. So, yeah, I get the criticism of Hubert the other night. I thought the offensive game plan was horrible, and there were no adjustments, and they were just standing around. That's not good basketball, especially when you don't have pounded on the floor, get you a bucket guys, which they do not have right now. So you got to run stuff to create shots. But at the same time, people need to step back a little bit, have a little understanding, maybe even a little empathy, if you will, for the fact that he has lost 46.4% of his scoring and 46.4% of his rebounding, and two absolute dogs that everybody fed off of and kind of followed. And it's pretty difficult to shift course immediately. And good for them that they had Pitt on the schedule to help, right? Help kind of ease into things. Yeah. But then they went into the Hornets nest, and I think we'll get a truer version Saturday at Syracuse.
I was going to say, I think you're hitting around a couple of things here that is held against Hubert Davis. The development, the trusting the players, and perhaps using them in the right roles. I think he has been good and better at it this year, particularly in trusting Caleb Wilson. But it took him a minute on the point guard situation this year. But this is where I really want to go with this conversation, because I think they beat Syracuse. I think they're going to lose the rest of their games, especially if those guys don't play. They might lose the rest of their games without Vessar, without just Wilson. Yeah. It's 5 total games. It's fine. Okay, like you beat Syracuse, you get a little bit of heat off of you. Here's the real issue, Andrew, and you know this, as you just said about the messaging and remembering Chuck Amato. Speaking of Chuck Amato recruits leaving and going to another school. Yeah. See where I'm going here?
I see where you're
going. Because on Saturday, Elliot Cadeau is going to be in a national spotlight game.
Yeah.
And if he looks like a perfectly competent point guard for a national championship team, and you're watching that game.
Yeah, but that's Tar Heel for life, Joe. Tar Heel for life. Caleb Love. Sticking it to Duke.
These are the I don't know where Carolina fans are. Andrew has a better handle on this than I do. You could probably, live with Cade Tyson playing well at Minnesota, like cool. Tyler Nickel at Vanderbilt, cool.
Yeah, you know who we haven't talked about?
But Ian Jackson and St. John's playing better.
But we haven't really talked about Ian Jackson, though.
Cadeau being on the number one team, being the point guard for the number one team on a perfectly functional team, to me. There's part of me, Andrew, I'm wondering how you feel about this. There's part of me that thinks if Cadeau were to play with Wilson and Vesser, he would look like he's looking at Michigan right now. I feel like he kind of got lost in the sauce a little bit, not having good bigs to play with.
Yeah, and the other guard alongside him was shorter.
Yeah.
And wasn't a great defender and needed the ball to score. You need to get him set up to score a lot. So it was a quirky offense last year. It's kind of a quirky offense this year because they don't have anybody really that can score from the perimeter, that can create their own shot from the perimeter. They've got to have a lot of kickouts. It is a gift from God that Caleb Wilson has learned how to deal with double teams the way he has, because they get a lot of buckets that come from his double team passes when he gets out of it. Sometimes it's the hockey assist. Sometimes it's his. He's averaging close to 4 assists in ACC games. But as far as Cadeau goes, I've been told by multiple sources, and they have insisted every time that Elliott wanted to come back, but his mother wanted him out.
Okay.
She didn't like the situation. She didn't like the vibe. She didn't believe that what was told at the beginning was coming through, but Elliott wanted to stay. But Mama controls everything there. And that's one of the criticisms about, or not criticisms, but concerns about Elliott that has been expressed by people I've spoken to around the program, is that, she's too domineering. She's too dominant with him. Maybe that's not the case anymore at Michigan. He's a year older, and now there's been a transfer, so it's a different climate. I have no idea. I can't speak to that. I do know he's playing well, and I would think that his ability to lob and feed those two bigs, he would be an assist machine with this team, given how he's playing at Michigan. But maybe he needed the change and didn't realize he needed change. Sometimes change is great for guys. It really is. And they could use him because they're not very strong in the backcourt, as you guys know. They're not strong defensively. They don't have anybody that can break you down and get to the rim. Like, sometimes Seth can do it from the wing, but he's still got handle issues. He's got finishing issues. So they are so overly reliant on Henry and Caleb. And we saw the other night the result of playing extended period of time without them. They were rudderless offensively the other night. And unless they dramatically change their approach for Syracuse, I expect to see somewhat the same thing Saturday. The difference will be, do they make threes or not? If they make threes, they can win that game. If they don't make threes, they're not winning that game.
So they probably won't go 1 for 16 from 3 in the first half.
Probably not.
I mean,
probably not.
That's
what two other things about basketball before we bring on what I thought was kind of amusing news of the day as it relates to Carolina football. We'll get to that in a second. One is about Hubert Davis specifically. The other is about the Smith Center. Speaking of messaging, the messaging around the Smith Center over the last 2 weeks. Given the way the year has gone, my general attitude is that there really is no discussion around Hubert Davis, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But I'm told by the Carolina people who listen to this podcast, right down to people right now, and here's somebody in the YouTube comments, stop making excuses. This team is trash, right? I will get text messages to the OG Sports phone saying, you guys don't understand Carolina fans. They are over Hubert Davis, blah, 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 blah. My general attitude is that he has done what has been asked, okay, in the regular season. And then you throw the injuries on top of that, there's context. And yet I am told by Carolina people, or Carolina fans that listen to the podcast, no, you guys don't get it. So, is there a discussion? Is there not a discussion? Because my general attitude is, I thought he's answered the bell, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think the bell, you ring the bell in March.
Yeah.
And I don't think anything's decided by the.
How are you going to ring the bell in March if you don't have Caleb Wilson? Giglio brought this up on Tuesday night. He brought up Kyrie Irving.
Yeah, well, I covered that. I covered it when he came back. And Nolan Smith, who was ACC Player of the Year, was not the same player in Charlotte that weekend. Not even close. So as far as this goes, the line of demarcation is, the layup line in Coral Gables, okay? Because both got hurt that night. Up to that point, even though Hubert's biggest critics were on our board saying, you know what, guys, I got to give him credit. So they were 19-4,
Mm-hmm.
and they just beaten Duke, and you had the Kansas, Kentucky. They won at Virginia. I mean, they've won at Virginia and Kentucky this year. Pretty good high-end stuff that they've been able to produce. So I think people would pump the brakes. But what concerned people the other night was the approach. Was the fact that they were just standing around. I was told that the radio guys, Jones Angel and Tyler Hansbrough, were just constantly getting on them about the fact they weren't moving. I asked Hubert in the press conference afterward, you had pretty good movement against Pitt. It looked pretty stagnant tonight. And he said, I respectfully disagree. And 5 seconds later said, we had no movement. So that's going back to the messaging stuff.
Yeah.
But they didn't have movement. And this group, with the personnel that they're going to roll out there Saturday, they have got to move and move and move to get good shots, because there isn't anybody that broke anyone down off the dribble the other night. It's certainly not going to be Luka Bogovac trying 15 times from the perimeter.
Yeah.
This isn't the Adriatic. He's not breaking anybody down and getting to the rim. They have to create stuff as a unit. And I think that was the disappointment. I had people that have been pretty fair to Hubert tell me they thought that was the worst coach game they'd ever seen in North Carolina history. Of course, I would argue that there were some years in the Matt Doherty period that probably might rival that, and there have been some others, but I think that
worse.
But
Come on now.
The time they went to Maryland, and Maryland just obliterated.
I covered that.
Come on now.
Jason Capel with a three to cut it to like 34, and he did the antlers.
Yes.
I will never forget that until I take my last breath. What are we doing here, Jason?
Come on.
Anyway, that was bad.
39 was that game, by the way.
Oh God.
Well, when you haven't been swept by NC State since 2002, what are you going to do? I can see where people are mad. Sorry, I'm going back to the well on that one.
I think that's the other thing too. I think people, Hubert is really intense on the court and likes to talk the tough game, and I don't back down. We run to the fight. They knew there was a fight coming the other night. There'd been trash talk for 10 months. We'll wade through salvos. And I think what concerned a lot of fans was that Carolina went into that as if they were playing Radford on a Tuesday in November.
Or worse.
And that is criticism directed at Hubert, because he's supposed to set the tenor for their disposition going into a game. And it wasn't very good the other night.
I mean, if you really wanted to be real about it, I mean, if you see behind Joe Giglio, the mic stands in the way, but like there's Dave Doran. Right. And that was reminiscent of a football game, It's a football game. Yeah. Speaking of which, I saw this. Here we are. Speaking of football, Mac Brown back. Forever a Tar Heel. Forever a Tar Heel for life, even though he's been out there wearing Texas gear and talking about Drake May and all this other kind of stuff. I mean, if you really wanted to be like honest about it, that was very reminiscent of a Mac Brown NC State Carolina football game, and just not having that fight like you talk about, right?
I think there's some similarities between Mac and Hubert. People like Mac.
Yeah.
There are a lot of reasons to like Mac. Mac had obviously achieved a ton before he came back, but boy, he's a good man. He runs a good culture. He has good culture in his program and solid kids, that kind of stuff, but they don't have that edge that they needed. A lot of times, I think basketball, you could say the same thing at times for it. As far as Mac coming back, I saw that today and started laughing.
What's that about?
I know as much as you do. I saw it 10 minutes before I hit the StreamYard link. I at first I'm thinking football. So he and Belichick are going to talk.
No,
I mean, that's pretty big of Mac. That's bigger of Mac than I've been told. Maybe is within Mac's wheelhouse.
No, that's not what's.
But it's basketball, and I remember Mac used to talk a lot about how I've got season tickets to the Tar Heels in basketball. I gotta love the Tar Heels and all that stuff. Gosh. Man, they just keep giving us entertainment, don't they?
They really do. They really do.
I never expected this. He's gonna have to find his Carolina Blue stuff, because 2 days after his State beat him in his last game, he and Sally were gone. They were in Austin,
and he was wearing orange. We saw him in orange. So hey, respect. He was fired.
They went on a spending spree on Amazon to get burnt orange stuff.
All respect to my petty king, with the Drake May stuff. He was all front and center on that. Like, I respect Mac Brown. Don't misunderstand. So quick thing about this.
I like that. Look, guys, I like the fact that Mac is who he is.
Yeah.
I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that.
I'm cool with that too. Real quick thing about the Smith Center before we move on. And I think I made this joke to you. I certainly made it to Greg Barnes in that, like, I guess like the biggest winner in that game over Duke wasn't Seth Trimble. Right. It wasn't Hubert Davis. Right. it was those behind the scenes that really want the Smith Center to be renovated. Because how can you replace that, right? I know Joe's attitude is it was inside you all along. It doesn't matter where you are. But that kind of feeling really does gum up the works for Lee Roberts and Bubba Cunningham and Newmark as it relates to this Carolina North project. And it looks like they're walking back some things in terms of messaging.
Yeah.
What are you hearing right now as it relates to that process?
Well, first of all, with respect to the win over Duke, what has become synonymous at Chapel Hills when they beat Duke, the kids go to Franklin Street.
Right.
So they had to run to Franklin Street from the Smith Center. Now it's like 1.6 miles to Carolina North. They would have to block off Highway 54 and the kids would have to sprint down the middle of the road to get to Franklin Street, right?
Yeah.
That would be a scene unto itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, they started, in fairness, and this is coming from them, from Newmark and Bubba, that they started to pull back a little bit late fall, October, November. There was a little bit of pressure by the developer about, hey, we need to know where this thing's going to be so we can lay out the rest of Carolina North with the engineering buildings and all that stuff. And I do think that was part of it because I was told originally there was going to be an announcement like in mid-December, and then that was pushed to the side. And they admit, to their credit, they admit that the Roy and Hansbrough videos had an effect.
Okay.
And I would say that of the people that reached out directly to me to let me know or to respond to something or to let me know on their own, just cold calling me, I would say 98% of them that were on the fence were like, we can't move. We got to stay at the Dean Dome after Roy and Tyler's videos came out. And then you have what happened in that game and just adding to the mystique or aura of the building without regard to the beams that hold the building up or the one concourse. I think that played a huge role. But look, they're going to have to do something. And if they renovate, they're going to add a second concourse. They need a second concourse. And that means that if they would have to either play in Greensboro for a couple of years, or you can renovate while still playing, but you're scaling it down to about 8,000 to 10,000 for a couple of years. So
have you heard Joe? Have you heard what Joe's been advocating for?
No, what?
Actually, I was there. I can witness this. I witnessed this. He was talking
tell me
about this.
They should play their ACC games at the Lenovo Center. They play their non-conference games either at Carmichael or Greensboro, but they should play their league games at the Lenovo Center.
Now, is that allowed? Because can two teams use the same arena? For home games?
Publicly funded.
It's a publicly
the
funded
University of North Carolina.
Yeah,
I thought there was an ACC. I wasn't sure because every time it comes up in a conversation, I never hear, no, we don't want to do that. I hear we can't do that.
No, they can. They can do it.
I mean, it'd be
that would make a lot more sense than I mean, they've been a high seed in
and they sell the
whatever the name of the building is at the time.
You don't
they got plenty of fans.
You know, it's like funny. It's like I had a State fan when I was making fun of the whole.
They'd fill it more than State, by the way.
Yes. So when I was making fun of the whole John Shire thing, you know, the court storming and all that kind of stuff, and the DA, and I had brought up. I mean, Roy like openly said I would shoot State fans in the Smith Center with a BB gun, and a State fan correctly pointed out to me, do you know how many State fans would line up to get shot in the ass by Roy Williams with a BB gun? Because they can brag to their friends that Roy Williams shot me in the ass with a BB gun because that man hates State so bad. Right. You're telling me that Carolina fans would not relish the possibility of taking over the Lenovo Center and winning more than NC State? Like, that's
how about
like, come on.
How about Roy sitting in there in that little corner seat with Wanda and looking up at the 1983 championship banner and the David Thompson jersey and just being fueled with all of his red fire about NC State.
Please make that
Roy would give every pregame speech.
Because every win here is a win over them, just so you know. It would be hilarious. All right, last thing.
So good.
Last thing before we say goodbye. There is
amazing, guys. That would be so amazing.
Amazing.
Now I want that. I want that now.
We're only talking about 8 games here, 9 games, right? 18 and 5 by 2 is 9.
So like lasagna, real G's move in silence, Andrew. And it's been quiet around Bill Belichick and football right now. I think, is that a good thing? How's the offseason gone so far? Haven't really heard much. I saw they signed a Western Carolina quarterback. So that's
that was interesting. Kind of came from out of left field. Didn't see that one coming. They obviously want numbers. guys have come from the Western Carolinas of the world and lower levels and done pretty well. Trinidad Shamlis and Cam Ward, say hello.
Yep.
I think there's competition. I was asked, I was on with Wes and Roddy on Monday in Sirius, and they asked me about it. And I said, well, the first thing that came to my mind was they've had 5 or 6 weeks to see Billy Edwards.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe they either want something a little bit different so they can have multiple packages, or they're not impressed with what they saw, or they just simply want to bring someone in to add to the competition. Or maybe it's a Miles O'Neill thing. They need somebody that they think could be a backup. I don't know.
Okay.
But with the 105 scholarships, if I'm from their perspective, yeah, why not? If the kid wants to come, slap him on the books.
Yeah.
You got to wonder what he was told and why he would make that choice to go there.
Okay.
I totally forgot.
But we don't know that yet.
Was the new offensive.
There's Bobby too. All right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. Before we say goodbye.
And actually, I'll tell you what, there's a lot of people that they plug their nose, but they're also excited. Well, he can coach.
I mean, he can. That's never up for debate.
Poking your fist with one arm and plugging your nose with the other.
All right. So you have a nice setup. You are like us.
We have a gift for you.
You have tchotchkes behind you. We know you're a big Baltimore Orioles guy. When I saw you at Lenovo on Tuesday night, you had your Orioles lanyard for your press pass. I don't know what it's going to take to get you to downtown Raleigh to get these, but do you have?
We can bring them to Charlotte for him.
I guess we can
bring one to Charlotte.
We'll bring it to the ACC tournament. Do you have a 1983 Orioles World Series Coca-Cola unopened?
Right there.
You do? All right. Of course you do.
It's right next to my Eddie Murray bobblehead.
There we go.
Right?
There we go.
And my wedding photo. So bookending my wedding photo is an Eddie Murray bobblehead and a 1983 World Championship Coca-Cola bottle.
Would you like extras?
Maybe Josh gets them both.
Yeah, Josh
extras.
will get one. Would you like an extra?
Well, see if Josh doesn't have one, give it to him, because Josh was wearing his Orioles hat the other night in the show, so I got to give him props for that.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to double check. I figured you had one.
He's like, but it is the thought that counts, my friend.
Hey,
I appreciate
it. Hey, man, we appreciate the time as always. Shout out to the Tar Heel 24/7 message board. They always love when you come on with us. Go check out Tar Heel 24/7. Great info that Andrew drops on a daily basis. I read it every day. All right, man. We'll talk to you later.
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks.
All right. That's Andrew Jones. But for real, that message board hates us.
Yeah, I mean, there's corners of the internet that don't really appreciate us. It's best to stay away from those corners.
Hates us.
Mm-hmm.
But we have fun conversations with Andrew, so it's neither here nor there. Whitaker and Hamer. I don't know. Maybe we can do a legal thing, like a legal disclaimer. Yes. Tar Heel 24/7. I know we're not a UNC podcast, so to speak, but it's all good. Here's a little policy. Regardless, those are things that Whitaker and Hamer can do for you. Check them out online, wh.lawyer. Again, that's wh.lawyer. Attorneys and counselors at law.
We'll be at Shady's, downtown Garner, for our 3rd birthday celebration, the pregame show. 11 start.
We're going 11 a.m.?
We kick it off at London time, or you want to do 12?
Yeah, let's go 11 a.m. Why not?
11 feels like it's the right play.
Can't drink all day for Rand's wedding
premiership
if we don't
rules.
start early, right? So yes, we will do that. We'll be at Shady's for that. It'll be a lot of fun. Speaking of legal expertise, we have all sorts of expertise that are corporate champions for this podcast, including our friend Gordon Miller at Miller Lending. Check him out online, millerlending.com, or call him directly at 919-447-3377. With refinancing, there's this idea, well, the rates aren't great. Why don't you just give us $10,000 and we'll lower the rate a little bit and you'll save money in the long run? Actually, you're not. Typically, it takes about 8 years to break even on closing costs.
It's a long time.
And on average, people will refinance about every 4 years because of any number of reasons. Perhaps you want to consolidate debt. Maybe you want to do a home project. Again, all sorts of reasons. Maybe the rates come down. See where the math ain't math? So make the math. Contact our friends at Miller Lending. Check them out online at millerlending.com. And if you take that thing to close with Miller Lending, not only will you get a gift basket from the Butcher's Market, which brings you OG live on Thursdays, and Gordon will tell you straight up, it's not cheap. It is a very substantial gift basket. You will also get a Rowback item, a polo. So head on over to rowback.com. if you don't want to refinance. I would suggest you do if you're like serious about consolidating debt. But let's say you're not in that situation. Maybe you're like me, right? You don't have to refinance right now, but you'd still like to check out some Roback wares. Head on over to the website. They're dropping new stuff all the time. They got their St. Patrick's Day collection. They just dropped like a new sweater polo, which I'm intrigued by. I feel like that's the sleeveless hoodie of business casual.
Okay.
The sweater polo. So you can check it out online at roback.com. Use the promo code OG20 to save 20% off your order.
They have a button-down shirt now, too. That
it's on the way.
About.
It's on the way.
Okay.
I'm very much looking forward to rocking that thing.
Last time we saw Ben, he's like, well, the stuff that's coming out is going to be more of the Ovies tilt.
The Ovies collection.
And I said, okay.
The Ovies collection. Hey,
That's
look.
fine.
I hope it just arrives. Like, if this new stuff is coming out, I got to get it before the ACC tournament because I'm just going to be dripped in Roback.
Yeah.
Like, I think you were a little jealous on Tuesday when I showed up in my Delta jacket with my undershirt. People were like, yo, what's up with that? It's Roback for me.
It's very good.
Roback for me. So anyway, go to roback.com and you can save with the promo code OG20. Speaking of saving, Matt Davis is going to help you save money on home and auto. Check him out online at insuregarner.com or 919-779-8277. If you have not thought about your home and auto in a long time, now is time. Just break off a call to Matt Davis and see how much money you can save. And on top of that, maybe you have like a very specific niche insurance policy that you need. They can do that for you too. In fact, you and I need to talk to Matt Davis about a very specific niche insurance policy for this podcast. They can do that for you.
Yeah.
And he can financially plan for you as well.
Only works if you have a conversation.
Right. So maybe you have a child who wants to keep doing travel hockey and you're up to your debt and you're up to your eyeballs in debt. Plan a little bit better next time. Contact Matt Davis, insuregarner.com, 919-779-8277. And if you want to try to make this all big tax write-off because you talk about travel hockey on your podcast,
it's an idea.
You can contact Brassfield Accounting. Chris will work it out for you. Check them out online, brassfieldaccounting.com. Look, we talk about Chris a lot about being a fractional CFO. That's something that happens throughout the year, but obviously we're in tax time now. And as a business that can prepare your taxes, and for OG listeners, Chris will handle your taxes for you personally. All you got to do is tell them that you're an OG listener, and they'll go from there. So hit them up, brassfieldaccounting.com. Again, that's brassfieldaccounting.com. Oh man, the YouTube comments are not as unhinged as they were on Tuesday night. But you know, it is what it is. And yes, Ken, I did see that Andrew Jones with the big mic got that podcast sound. And of course, Ken having to come in and correct which road you'd be going down. It would be Highway 86, not Highway 54, if you were to do the Carolina North project. Let's go back to the OG sports phone, shall we?
919-444-2211. Call the OG sports phone and curse or don't.
I feel like these two calls are tied together. This is from a 919.
This message is for Joe Ovies. I just wanted to say that game was exactly what state fans have been wanting to see, and I don't understand your take on it last night. I love the fact they blew them out and didn't care who wasn't playing. We played so well. We usually don't play that well, and I just can't believe that you threw a wet blanket all over it.
I appreciate the call.
I'm pretty sure you used that phone call yesterday, didn't you?
No.
Okay.
You sure?
Just a similar one?
It was a similar one. No, that was the guy who was like, I bought merch from you.
Yeah, that was not a good one, though.
And then he was the guy who said you had your ass on your shoulders.
Ah, that was a good line.
That was a good line.
Yeah.
This was another one.
I still don't know what that means, but I like it.
I like it. And this is another one where apparently I was too much of a wet blanket after that. And again, I didn't say don't enjoy it if you're a State fan. I even said on the After Dark, if you're a State fan, I can see where you love it. But as somebody who likes high-level basketball, we didn't get that. What? What?
Nothing.
What, did you read a comment?
No, I did not. We have another call.
What are you laughing about?
You're nothing. You just play another call.
I feel like you're not telling me something. Fine. We'll play another call because this is tied into it as well.
This is thought.
This is from Tim, who called yesterday.
Okay.
He was not happy with my interpretation of his call.
Oh.
Hey guys, Tim from New York. I was quite honored when my call was the first one played on the podcast today, but then I quickly realized that I was being used as a foil for whatever point you wanted to make, and I feel like I got slandered a little bit. Just a couple of clarifications. When I said catharsis, I only meant for the Louisville and Miami losses. I loved Kevin Keats. I was all in on the 24 run. I was one of the grown men who cried. You know what t-shirt I wore to the game on Tuesday? I wore the ACC Championship t-shirt.
Hell yeah.
Because it was the last time we beat North Carolina. So I'm fully aware of the history. I'm as old as you guys. I went to state right after you, so I've been around just as long. And I realize that there are people who didn't want Kevin out and didn't want to give him a chance after the Final Four run. I'm not one of those guys. I am a Pack fan through and through. I want Will to succeed. And I'm in on this. So anyway, appreciate you guys. I just think you read my call wrong this time. See you.
So I texted Tim from the OG Sports One. I apologized to him because, yes, I did misinterpret and I focused too much on the word catharsis. And I think the reason why I did that is because, and I will admit that when you get inundated with a lot of stuff, right? Because, you know, we are openly accessible. We are openly accessible via the OG Sports Phone, through YouTube comments, through social media comments, etc. Then after some time, sometimes things get jumbled together, and then you hear a word and you're like, whoa. So I appreciate that Tim called back, and I apologize. I did not mean to use that call fully as a jumping board to be like, are we memory holding 2024? So I appreciate that Tim called back. Tim should be getting a secret stash care package in the mail here soon.
Look at you doing a little bit of.
Well, look, this happened yesterday with the guy who said I had my ass on my shoulders, right? Like, I got no problem.
Is he the guy who was like, is he the one who said that he bought the shirts and was like hating us now?
Yes.
Because he's a founder?
Yes. He's like,
not hating us, but like he was like, he had buyers.
No, it's like
remorse.
it was like, I honestly, that call affected me because it was like, I'm not mad, I'm disappointed, right? Like, that's the shit you use on your kids. I've used that line on my own children. So to get that in listener form, like, I'm not mad at you, Ovies. I'm just disappointed. I'm like, shit, man. You know, some men would rather go to another Nine Inch Nails show to go to therapy, but I'd actually consider therapy after that. Like, damn.
That's taking it to heart.
Now, that was me.
I'm ready. Give it to me.
That was me.
Go.
That was me. Okay. Those were calls directed at me.
No, I know. I don't piss off state fans.
You don't piss. I piss off state fans.
I piss off other.
For whatever reason, like, I'm the one who pisses off state fans because of, like, I did a hit with Kyle Bailey yesterday on WFNZ, and you know, he hit me with the, you know, as a state grad, and I was like, Kyle, come on, dude. Like, I care about one thing and one thing only: the show. That's what I care about. And if it's good for the show, then I'm about that. And if state being good is good for the show, I'm about that. Which gets back to the wet blanket thing. Because a high-level basketball game with Caleb Wilson and Henry Vasar on it, don't you? I get it. State fans enjoy the blowout. So it is what it is. I'm not going to belabor the point. I'm not going to belabor the point. But see, that was me and me disappointing listeners. Now it's time for Giglio to hear how he disappointed a listener to the point where it took money out of our pockets, Joe. It's from a 540, and it's not Bull City coordinators.
Hey, it's Alan from the Nook, Roanoke. I called in because earlier last year I blew up at Giglio about his UVA takes, rated my last nerve, but canceled my subscription to the last thing you had. But last night, because I didn't listen for a while, because I said I wasn't going to. But Odious, you know, Giglio had to bring up Tony Bennett. And he's like, let the man have his peace. And I was like, I'm glad I'm not, it just became like an obsession. It was like, my God, Jesus, can Virginia do anything? I understand neither one of you liking them. I mean, I totally understand that, but I like you guys. So I started listening, like I said again, and I'm a member of the YouTube. Hell, a month ago, he caught a stray about not playing Duke or Gonzaga for the, when they won the national championship. Well, who the fuck's fault is that? It's not Tony Bennett's fault. Duke and Gonzaga, and especially Gonzaga, should have, held up their end of the deal. Hell, Chandler Morris even caught a stray at the after dark of the UNC state game. Giglio said something about that little fucker or what. I'm like, what the hell is that?
I did about Chandler Morris.
Fuck me to tears. I mean, what the hell?
I'm gonna pause. Right, I don't think it was that one. I think we were talking to like Brendan Marks or something like that, and Chandler Morris caught like a stray of some sort. I don't know. It's something like that happened. Either way.
Okay.
Either way.
I don't remember that. But
Alan continues.
I started listening again because I like you guys. Like I said, there's not shit in Roanoke. I mean, there's one guy, but Ovies, I appreciate you calling him out on that. I mean, hell, I made it a point that Ovies was coming to Roanoke to meet him. I like you guys, and I'm hoping to, if I can make it. I think it's on a Monday night, the bracket thing you're doing, come from Roanoke to, come up to Raleigh and see it. But anyway, I'm back on the bandwagon. Hope you like the Twitter video.
So yes, Alan.
Alan, we could still like each other and disagree about Tony Bennett. Like that's the part I'm confused.
Well, hold on. So yes, I went to Roanoke for hockey, 2 seasons ago, and I get to the rink parking lot a little early, and sure enough, a guy comes up to me and he's like, "Hey man, big listener." I was like, "Well, what?" So Alan had come, and I give him some. I think I gave him some stickers, right? And we chatted for a little bit, and it was good to hear from Alan. He says, "Enjoy the Twitter video." I was like, "Okay." So I went and looked at my mentions, and I saw this AI generated image.
That's my sweater.
And that was a sweater. that is your sweater. Dude, AI is getting really freaking scary that I can nail that hoodie sweater of yours. And for the audio-only audience, it is AI slop. It looks like it's Tony Bennett dressed in a Virginia State Police uniform while holding a picture of himself. And I guess you had gone there to basically be like, this man hurt me. And it's like you in tears, and you're just, it's just Tony Bennett affected you in some form or fashion, right? And yes, like you brought up Tony Bennett like non sequitur on Tuesday night. And at that point, you kind of went on a weird tangent. I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And I said, like, just let the man live, dude. Let him enjoy his Dave Matthews Band. He ain't coaching no more. What's the freaking beef? Right?
Yeah.
And yeah, you have not let it go for some reason. And yes, it clearly made Alan mad. And I understand. He was actually, take it back. He wasn't mad. He was disappointed in
but
you.
It's okay for us to disagree about Tony Bennett.
Why do you go out of your way?
And his greatness. It's fine.
Why do you go out of your way? He's Herb Sendek with a championship.
Oh, absolutely. He's better than Herb.
I know. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. He's better than Herb.
It's percentage of making the answer.
Yes.
Never mind the title. Just
yes. And he
getting
was
more than one.
Very
team.
good at the regular season.
Absolutely.
Beat Duke. Beat Carolina.
It was definitely the benefit. His scheduling was always a benefit.
There we go. There we go.
His record in run it back games wasn't that great. His record in the first round of the NCAA tournament is just atrocious.
It is bad.
It's atrocious. So,
but he's got a chip. So what are you gonna say?
And I would trade that atrocious record for one national championship.
Yeah,
no doubt.
Right,
no doubt.
And I agree with Alan.
I just ain't putting you on the Mount Rushmore. That's all.
And I agree with Alan.
You can't be up there.
It's not on Tony Bennett in Virginia.
Gonzaga
just flamed out.
Corey
and
Kispert still in the fucking league. God damn it.
And this is the real issue. This is the thing that you just have not admitted, because you act like I don't pay attention. I fucking pay attention. You used to do a thing at the News and Observer where you and Calden Tudor would come up with the perfect bracket. Because this is your white whale. This is your Moby Dick.
Yes.
That you are going to get the perfect bracket. And you were the dumbass that would always pick Gonzaga to win it.
the year before I picked Michigan State to beat Virginia. And
Yeah.
they each lost in the first round.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're getting to the root of the problem. It's not really against Tony Bennett. It's the fact that you don't like it when your perfect bracket is no longer perfect.
That's certainly part of it. But no, I stand by the fact that he was not good at running back games.
Fair.
Which is a staple of really good coaches.
Nobody's perfect.
And I do think he benefited year after year for playing either only once or only at home Duke and Carolina.
Yes.
Yeah. You still have to beat him.
And he did.
No, that year they did not beat Duke. Zion blocked
that's
DeAndre
right.
Hunter
That was the DeAndre
third
Hunter
row.
That's right. That's
you
right.
know,
That's
every
right.
time they played somebody good that year.
Not that year. Yeah. But whatever.
Yeah. But it's okay. Like, why can't we disagree? Like, I don't have to tell you how great Tony is. Everybody in Charlottesville will tell you how great Tony is.
There is that.
Come on.
And also, Alan's like, I know both of you don't like him. I'm like, I actually know I got no issues with Tony Bennett. The only if there was an issue with Tony Bennett, there is one. There's one. When there was the absence of leadership, when there was the absence of Hall of Fame coaches as guys were going out, right? I did not like the fact that Tony didn't step up to take over that role to, like Roy or Kay would vouch for the league. Okay.
Hey, Tony Bennett fell asleep at the end of this game and led NC State attempt a 3-pointer. So part of me, there is no 24 without Tony Bennett.
This is true.
So
this is true.
Maybe I should rethink my Tony Bennett slander.
Maybe you should be forever grateful.
Maybe I should be forever grateful.
Maybe we should get Mikey P to do his own shirt. That's just Tony Bennett face, and it's just forever grateful.
The forever grateful shirt's looking good. By the way.
Hopefully it'll drop here relatively soon. Anyway, the reason why I played those calls here in Hey Joe as we wrap things up and say goodbye, and actually it's a few of them, the ones that we've had this week. Hey, I don't mind y'all keeping us accountable. That's what the OG Sports Phone is for.
Yeah.
The one thing that always kind of bothered me about radio is that it really was a one-way conversation. Okay. The cool thing about what we can do with the podcast is we can make this a little bit more of a two-way conversation. You can communicate with us in any number of sorts of ways. And what I love about the OG Sports Phone is that it allows you to, like humans tend to do, talk. Okay. And while we can't do live phone calls, I mean, we could, but it'd be more work for me.
I don't know how that would work.
No, technically we could do it.
Yeah.
But I would have to get a dummy phone and patch it through the Roadcaster, that kind of stuff.
That sounds expensive.
It's not expensive. It's just more technically a pain in the ass.
I'm saying a burner phone seems expensive.
Well, you always love a tax write-off. More ways to spend money.
I do.
So why not, right?
Yeah.
So regardless, the reason why I enjoy the OG Sports Phone is that, yes, we will play the ones where you're holding us accountable. It's all good. And yes, as illustrated by yesterday and today, you know what? I probably was a little bit much of a wet blanket on Tuesday night. I could see why people felt that way. And when you hit me with I'm not mad, I'm disappointed.
Hurts, man. It hurts.
Damn, man. Damn. Cuts me deep a little bit. Anyway, that's going to wrap up today's show. Big thanks to Andrew Jones from Tar Heel 24/7 for dropping by. Thanks to everybody for hitting the likes. There's a hype thing that you can do on YouTube, obviously, while we're live here. That helps boost the discoverability of the podcast. And speaking of the podcast,
do with Discord or connecting.
We'll do that tomorrow.
We'll launch the shuttle tomorrow. Okay.
Yeah, we'll launch the shuttle tomorrow when we do OG Mailbag, which I'll preview the mailbag tomorrow. Not that, don't be fucking literal like Bomani, who was like, Duke Hate was never off the menu. No, buddy. Duke Hate's always been on your menu. Okay? That's been on your menu. You did an entire brilliant bit on your HBO show.
Yes.
Duke Hate's always on your menu. But I noticed something this week between John Shire and the Storm Court stuff and Mike Krzyzewski just existing at a college basketball game.
Oh.
That makes me go, ooh, wait. Duke Hate really is back on the menu. And I find it interesting. We'll talk about that on the mailbag along with some more Hubert stuff and a couple of other matters. Of course, you can use the OG Sports Phone for the mailbag. A lot of calls that don't make it into the normal podcast are usually better suited for the mailbag. So just understand, I see those calls. Sometimes they can be repetitive. That's why they don't get played. Other times they just get held for the mailbag because I think they just make for better mailbag questions. But today I just wanted to have a little, little family powwow today.
It's okay.
Little family powwow.
All part of it.
All part of the show. Anyway.
So I contend you're back from Buffalo. Your sleep cycle's back. You'll be okay.
I mean,
You'll be ready for March 2nd for you get another chance at these. Maybe your After Dark game was just off.
Might have been.
I mean,
you know,
yeah,
might have been. That
we got a
happens.
lot of after darks in front of us here now.
Oh, buddy.
Pace yourself a little bit.
You're absolutely right about that. All right, we'll see you tomorrow for the mailbag.